Okay, so we talked about this a second ago with space heaters, but electrical safety around the home. We want to make sure that anytime there's a problem with your electrical system, you make sure you have a certified electrician, not your next door neighbor's grandson's best friend that knows a little bit about electricity. That's not who we want checking it. We want to make sure that it is a certified electrician checking your home anytime you have a problem, and preferably about once every 10 years, just have one come out and do an inspection of your home. They'll check your fuse panel, your fuse box, your outlets, making sure all the wiring's tight, making sure that the circuit breakers are working properly, making sure any fuses that need to be replaced have been replaced. We want to make sure that we don't overload the electrical system. Most of your residential electrical systems, your outlets around your home and your walls are rated at about 15 to 20 amps max. Most of them are 15 amps, which is good for most of your lighting appliances, home appliances, things like that, just making sure that we don't overload them. If you're using power strips, making sure it's a certified power strip that is UL rated and it has a breaker on it so that if it's overloaded, it would trip the breaker rather than overloading the house current system. If at all possible, avoid using extension cords. And as we stated earlier, if you do need to use extension cords, number one, you want to make sure it's large enough that it's rated for the outlet that you're going to plug it into and all the appliances that are going to be plugged into it. And again, this may be a question for an electrician or someone with some electrical experience if you're not sure. Number two is making sure that you only plug in devices that can be plugged into a power strip. Oftentimes high power appliances, things like mixers, things like toaster ovens, things you would use in the kitchen, they pull enough current that they are not supposed to be plugged into power strips for any reason. So just make sure you check the box when you buy new devices and make sure that you're powering them properly. If you are using extension cords, please, please, please do not run them under rugs. Do not pull the carpet back and put them under the carpet. We know it makes the house look better when you don't have visible extension cords, but they do tend to get hot sometimes, especially if they're a little overloaded, and that heat can easily catch carpet, drapes, and other things on fire. So please don't hide your extension cords under the carpet, under floors, under rugs. And in high traffic areas, it's even worse because people walk back and forth on them and it wears the insulation out on the wiring. And it's a huge fire hazard. We've seen more than one fire start as a result of overloaded extension cords that were frayed and wore out because they were tucked under carpet and coverings. If you've got grandchildren or great-grandchildren that come and visit, make sure any unused outlets have some sort of a plug in them, a safety plug, a little cover. You can buy these. Most of the time you can buy them at a dollar store. You can buy most anywhere, just safety outlet covers that plug into unused portions of your electrical outlets in your home. Anytime you've got an outlet that's kind of loose or something doesn't want to stay plugged in, it's time to go ahead and replace it. We don't want to get arcs and shorts inside of these devices that can certainly create fires inside the walls, which are sometimes difficult to recognize and determine until that fire has already spread. Anywhere you have an outlet that looks like the one pictured here, this is called a ground fault circuit interrupter. You typically find these on at least one circuit in each home, but generally you find them in areas like bathrooms and kitchens around the sinks and the faucets. And these are there for a reason, so that if something falls in the water that's plugged in, it will trip the breaker on that outlet so that it disconnects the power from it. Most of the time you can simply rectify the problem and then press the button to reset it. However, if you press the button and it will not click and reset, then you need to have an electrician come out and take a look at it, possibly replace it. Please don't wedge anything in it or try to push anything in there to make it stay, because then it's not going to be doing the job as it was intended to do. Okay, candle safety. Candle safety, sometimes we have to use candles. We don't have a choice but to use them. Power goes out. We just had the ice and the snow here a couple days ago. I'm sure a lot of us were worried about the power going out. What are we going to do if the power goes out? We're going to use some candles. And you've probably heard candle safety talked about for your entire life, especially around the holidays. But we can never talk about it too much. Just some quick tips. We want to make sure we put candles in a sturdy metal, glass, or ceramic holder. We want to make sure that they're put where they can't tip over, up high and away from children preferably. Don't leave them unattended. Making sure we blow them out before we go to bed. If we can use something in the place of a candle, like something like the newer LED type T lights and things like that, those are much safer. And then the last but not least, and I know this goes without saying, but believe it or not, people will still try and use candles on Christmas trees for the effect, and that is extremely